This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
What do you think it is about being an elected Republican, former elected Republican politician? We'll just say that. What is it about being an elected Republican politician that makes you a coward? That makes you afraid to discuss the facts on the ground about American history? Last night, Nikki Haley was asked a question in New Hampshire at a campaign event. I believe it was in New Hampshire. And the question was, what was the cause of the United States Civil War? To which she crumpled in fear and gave some nonsense word salad answer that boggles the mind. I don't know how many times I've said that the Republican Party is the largest, most effective white supremacy organization on the planet, and this is just another example of that being the case. Demurring from giving an actual, accurate, historical answer. You don't need to be a history professor to know that the answer to the question, what was the cause of the United States Civil War, is slavery. It is white supremacy. It is the desire to own human beings as property so you don't have to pay people to do work. The answer to the question, what was the cause of the American Civil War, is we wanted, southern states, we want to be able to rape and torture and murder human beings unfettered, under the color of law. That's the answer. Not this answer that she gave yesterday.
Please, what was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was? I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I want to see your view on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government. We need to have capitalism. We need to have economic freedom. We need to make sure that we do all things so that individuals have the liberties so that they can have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do or be anything they want to be without government getting in the way.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
You answered my question. Thank you.
Next question.
Next question. Smug, disrespectful. And then the narrative took place online that this was a Democratic plant. This is just a gotcha question. If you think asking what your opinion on the Civil War as a former Southern governor, if you think that's a gotcha, you're not qualified or capable of being president of the United States of America. Representing what has commonly been referred to as a melting pot of individuals, both ethnic, cultural, religious. If you can't answer the easy questions, Nikki Haley. She was given a second chance late last night, in the 11 o'clock Eastern hour. She was asked, or not asked, she knew that this thing blew up. And she wanted to further give clarification about her opinion and really just made it worse.
Asked about the Civil War and what I think of the Civil War, what was the cause of the Civil War. Of course the Civil War was about slavery. We know that. That's unquestioned, always the case. We know the Civil War was about slavery. But it was also more than that. It was about the freedoms of every individual. It was about the role of government. For 80 years, America had the decision and the moral question of whether slavery was a good thing and whether government, economically, culturally, any other reasons, had a role to play in that.
If there were ever a reason to dissolve the Union, the battle over slavery and whether it should be allowed to continue is a good reason. That it was about the freedom of every individual and whether government should play a role in that. Very nebulous language, don't you think? And for those out there who might say, well, it actually wasn't about slavery. It was about states' rights. Yeah, states' rights to allow slavery under color of law. Some would even say that the southern states, that's really not what it was about for them. And I hold in my hand text of the 1861 Confederate States of America, Mississippi secession, a declaration of the immediate causes which induce and justify the secession of the state of Mississippi from the federal union. What do you think this document says? What do you think the people of Mississippi, the politicians of Mississippi, what do you think they gave as a reason? Well, I'm going to tell you. Our position, says this document, is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world. Its labor supplies the product which constitutes by far the largest and most important portions of commerce of the earth. These products are peculiar to the climate verging on the tropical regions, and by an imperious law of nature, none but the black race can bear exposure to the tropical sun. These products have become necessities of the world, and a blow at slavery is a blow at commerce and civilization. That blow has been long aimed at the institution and was at the point of reaching its consummation. There was no choice left us but submission to the mandates of abolition or a dissolution of the Union, whose principles have been subverted to work out our ruin. It, meaning the hostility that the federal government was pouring down upon the Confederate States, the hostility has grown until it denies the right of property in slaves, in human beings, and refuses protection to that right on the high seas, in the territories, and wherever the government of the United States had jurisdiction. It refuses the admission of new slave states into the Union and seeks to extinguish it by confining it within its present limits, denying the power of expansion. So they didn't want to just maintain slavery, they wanted to expand upon it. It has nullified the Fugitive Slave Act in almost every free state in the Union and has utterly broken the compact which our founders pledged their faith to maintain. It advocates Negro equality socially and politically and promotes insurrection and incendiarism in our midst. They fought the Civil War because the federal government, the Union, advocated Negro equality socially and politically. Oh, what shall we do? We must go to war and separate ourselves as traitors from the Union. It has made combinations and formed associations to carry out its schemes of emancipation in the states and wherever else slavery exists. Listen to this now. Utter subjugation awaits us in the Union, says the people of Mississippi who are separating from the United States. They feel subjugated if they're not allowed to subjugate Black Americans, human beings. What? I'm being oppressed if I can't oppress. Utter subjugation awaits us in the Union if we should consent longer to remain in it. It is not a matter of choice, but of necessity. We must either submit to degradation and to the loss of property worth $4 billion of money, or we must secede from the Union framed by our fathers to secure this as well as every other species of property. For far less cause than this, our fathers separated from the crown of England. Our decision is made. We follow their footsteps. We embrace the alternative of separation. And for the reasons here stated, we resolve to maintain our rights with the full consciousness of the justice of our course and the undoubting belief of our ability to maintain it. So why is it so hard for Republicans? Is it woke to admit to the world as a candidate for president of the United States that the cause of the Civil War was slavery? You can't just give some nebulous word salad answer and then say, well, yeah, obviously it's slavery. Well, if obviously it's slavery, you say slavery, Nikki. Disgraceful, hateful, bigoted, white supremacists. That's what this is. This is carrying water for racists and white supremacists who say, it's not hate, it's my heritage. And she's one of the better ones running for president for the Republicans. What do you think about this? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to help support my work, if I'm one of your go-to sources on this platform in independent media, I would appreciate it if you help consider supporting my work, helping produce what we do here. Click the join button below. For $1.99, you can become a channel member. You can hit the super thanks button. You can go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/idiotic podcast. You can follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. And I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.